So, first and foremost, I want to apologize for taking so long to make this. This semester has been more intense than usual, so I kinda needed to adjust. That being said, let's talk about Retrace 102, the nursery. First thing I'm gonna address is Vincent's and Ada's interaction at the beginning of the chapter. It was good closure for his and Ada's relationship, and he expresses his gratitude in his own way to her. Doesn't really say anything directly touching, but through the context, it comes across that way. I also realized after reading this part that without Ada there, it feels like Vincent could actually die. Like, before, I was absolutely positive that Vincent was going to survive this story through the end, and now I'm not so sure. I realize that came from my certainty that she wouldn't dare kill Ada, Mochijun I mean, she wouldn't dare kill her, and I thought that kind of transferred over to Vincent too, and now that she's gone, Vincent's completely vulnerable again. His character arc could be finished by him dying. It'd be completely plausible. So I hope he doesn't die, but it is very possible now. That was a potential death flag that popped up. Still, even with that emotional closure there, the standout part of this chapter for me was the core of the Abyss. If you would have told me even one chapter ago that I would be put in a fairly emotional state because of the core, I would have laughed. It would just seem completely ridiculous to me. I would have been wrong, because in 1 or 2 pages of this chapter, only 1 or 2 pages, Mochijun made the core completely sympathetic. She made you understand exactly where it's coming from, not just conceptually, ideally, oh yeah, the core doesn't want to be alone. They addressed that earlier. But you understand emotionally now, too. You feel it. What sells it is that single panel, that one panel, with the messed up eyes and the blurred tears with the deformed kind of drawing. It might be one of my favorite panels in the manga, because of the emotion behind it. I've always recognized how great Mochijun is at drawing expressions, at saying so much with just a simple look on the character's face. The most recent and notable example of this was Oswald's smile in the last chapter, and I kind of delved into that with the last discussion video. I love this panel for very similar reasons. It's such a simple image, but it expresses all the heartbreak and the panic that the core is going through. In just a second, it establishes an emotional attachment to the core. The core isn't just going crazy or losing its mind like you would probably think at first glance. I know I did. It's just plain terrified. And that one panel speaks volumes on that. It takes the core from just being the last obstacle that Oz and company have to face, just being an obstacle, and it makes it a much more personal threat. You feel involved with it now too, as including the other characters. In closing out the chapter is Jack returning to being in control of his body. So, it's left unclear exactly what happens to Oz, if he just disappeared, or if he's back in his chain form. It didn't really feel like to me that Oz had just disappeared. Feel like it would be a really odd way to quote-unquote kill him off. Well, at any rate, Oz and Jack's deal is going to come into play now. And ordinarily, I'd have to wait a while to see what happens next. But because I'm so incredibly late on making this, I can just go read Retrace 103 right now. So I'm going to do that. You can expect the discussion video for 103 to be up relatively soon, definitely before the manga's final chapter is released on Wednesday. So, yeah, I didn't have too much to say on this chapter in comparison to the last video. I'll see you on Retrace 103.